Testing 1 2 3. So for this video we're going to be looking at a Harbor Freight item. As you can tell by this beautiful thin cardboard box. You can see I'm very gentle with it. Take the box knife, cut it open. What could be inside? Ooh, bicycle. I see wheels. And a strap. Some red metal, some kind of bracket of some sort. Sliding it out carefully. And tossing the box. And look, there it is. It's the old welding cart. Here we go. Yep, you can see it. Welding cart. Alright. Not a little stinky, oily things. Some nice axle. Toolbox. Even tells you what it is. That looks like a handle. Conveniently wrapped in a condom. Get rid of that. Set that aside. Another. Oh, there's the hardware. Funny thing about the Harbor Freight hardware. Sometimes it's metric, sometimes it's English, and sometimes it's both. And there's the main part of the frame. There's your handle. And that's the toolbox. Okay. Looks like all the parts are there. Looks like I unwrapped most of them. Magically. So let's get started. Oh, wait. First, check out the weld job on that. Nice. Not quite. Now, first thing you do, of course, is check, make sure all the contents are provided. Take the instructions and put it in the cylindrical file. There we go. Alright. Pretty easy. You've got sets of nuts, bolts, and washers. You've got, looks like a hub cap. Yep, that's a hub cap right there. Put that on the end of the axle. And the handle fits fairly well in the main part of the unit. There's a little bit of a gap there. Not too terrible. Just kind of sprung loaded it in there. Slide the nut in, or the bolt in. Now those bolts have little recess for. You could use a flathead screwdriver to hold it in place. You got the bracket, then you put your flat washer, then your lock washer, and then your nut. And I'm going to show you that. There you go. So you got your bolt. Got a little slotted end, like I said. Flat washer, lock washer, and nut. And of course you have the bracket in between all that. Easy enough. There's 4 of them for this installation. Make sure you mount the bracket correctly so that the little spline is, or the little, here you go, so that you can put the box onto the little holder there. Notice now I'm showing you how that slot can be used. I've got an adjustable wrench, which, like I said, ends up being a pretty useful tool, because if you grab all your metric tools and sockets, for example, and think that's going to be it, and you find out that some of the hardware is metric and some of the hardware is English. In this case, I just used that to kind of just get it tight to begin with the little slotted bolt. Then I'll come back with the socket. Now eventually, here, I'll get all four of these. Righty tighty. Ergonomics. Here we go. This thing was pretty cheap. I think it was $60 normally. I think it was on sale for $50. Gotta use your 20% off, 25% off. Single item coupon. Dumb if you buy anything from there without that. They send them to you all the time. So I've got I think it's a 1/2 inch nut that's on there. Using the socket. Alright, get all four of those on there. Tighten it down. Don't over tighten it. This metal is sort of steel. Sort of strong. If you tighten it too much, though, you're gonna miss. You're gonna bend the metal out of shape, basically. You could totally collapse those metal tubes. Now the bracket was a little tight, so I just used a little manual encouragement there so that the toolbox could now rotate on the little spindles. And the reason why you do that is so that when you're tilting it, the contents of the toolbox don't fall out. Now for the axle, it's got two different heights that you could set it at. The lower height raises the base up. The higher height allows the base to be flush with the ground. Now this cart is going to be used for oxyacetylene setup, and so I want those tanks to be on the ground, or balanced on the ground, so that they aren't leaning forward or what have you. So you choose your setting. I think I started off putting it on the lower side, not thinking. Now, of course, you don't need to have anything holding the bolt in place when you're working with that, because with those U-bolts, because those U-bolts are in the bracket, so they're not going to shift on you. So here you can see it's at the lower position. You have those wheels up there like that, and it's got that drop forward. Now you can get like a little brace to put the to set the bottom up higher, but I'm not going to do that. So I just shifted it, the axle to the higher setting, hand tighten it. And I'm just going to shift that to the higher setting. If they'd match, they'd 1/2-inch nuts, just like the other hardware, but when I went to use a 1/2-inch socket, I discovered that I'll first get a little minor adjustment, make sure those U-bolts are fairly evenly spaced. So I think that's my 1/2-inch socket, and oh, yeah, that's not working. So yeah, I think it's just not, yeah, that's 1/2-inch. So I believe it's 14 millimeters is the metric for that one. Yeah, I had to go run and get the 14 millimeters, so there it is. Got a little extender on it. Okay, there we go. I think the total price ended up being something in the $30 range. Pretty cheap. Those are pneumatic tires, though. And really, just to be able to move those tanks around and be able to have them securely setting somewhere instead of just loose in the garage. Of course, that's very important. You don't want to over tighten that, obviously, because same sort of deal. You'll bend the metal on the bracket. You won't bend the axle. The axle's pretty tough steel, but the bracket will get deformed and may even tear the weld off that back tube of the frame. Alright, there we go. Tighty tighty. And it's time to move it off the little temporary table I have there. Oh, putting the hub on. Grab my little plastic mallet. Yep, plastic mallet. And tap, 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 tap. Make sure that's on there right. Those little hubcaps just have little flanges that lock onto the end of the axle. You could take a screwdriver and pry it off, pry those little hubcaps off easily, so it's not that big of a deal. What I'm doing there. Oh! Fill up the air. Finally got it together, I think. Back on. I don't know why I kept this in the video. I thought I'd clip that out, but oh well. And there. It's on the ground. And watch it spin. Alright, so the next thing you do, you see how that toolbox tilts? Yep, there we go. Next thing we're going to do is wheel the cans over. Put these bottles of acetylene and oxygen into it. And oxygen and acetylene brought to you by Indiana Oxygen. There we go. Product placement. These guys have been around for over 100 years. I think it was 1915. Now these straps are pretty lame. Little nylon straps. Yikes. I know that's not going to keep those bottles in place. But at least for now, I'll use, yeah, pretty chintzy. But at least for now, that's what I'll use. I used the little buckle on the first one, but this one I just tied in a knot because I know I'm going to replace that with something a little bit more substantial. But there we go. Now to make this a little bit better, I think I've seen some people put, add a little like PVC pipe so that you can put your nozzles in, torch nozzles in, but all the little accessories and so forth. I think you saw the striker I put in there, and you can wrap that up. It doesn't have a really good place to wrap the hoses up, but figured probably just wrap them around the handle and then just put some kind of little bracket to hold there. There you have it. Harbor Freight, $30. Awesome.